champagne or rum, achieve success with Global.Media.com. Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Then celebrate it with or without champagne.
Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, good evening. I want to say thank you so much for your patience this afternoon. Once again, we come to you, myself. I'll speak for myself because Annie is always ready. But unfortunately, due to technical issues, once again, we are starting this event late. So my sincere apologies to you guys, to everybody who has joined us this morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. I want to say a very warm welcome to you and thank you so much for your patience, for being here, and for joining us, and really for this community that shows up and supports us time and time again. And I think we're in 8 months now doing this. So thank you so much. Hi, Cyrus. Welcome. Great to see you here. Thank you, yes, once again for your patience. Thank you so much. Hi, Caroline. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up. And I'm going to say this because I experienced the same thing myself. I suffer from it myself. If you are showing up as LinkedIn user, so when you do write on our screens, you will be showing up as LinkedIn user. Please do us a favor, write your name next to your comment so we know on screen who is writing the comments, and we can address maybe your questions, your comments that you're making to you directly. So thank you so much for being here. It is so good to see you. And yes, good morning, Caroline. So today's topic, and before I begin, do you want to say anything? You want to introduce yourself? For those maybe who are new to us, who have not experienced us before.
Oh, what can I say about myself today, Christiana?
Godfather.
It's a great day. I've got microphone behind though.
Magician. There's so many words I can describe you with, Annie.
That's often the ones you tell me when no one's listening.
What? That's not true. Superstar.
All those lovely comments you make about me when we go live. Yeah.
At least I don't swear, so there you go.
Yeah, true. I swear, right? It's English language. I can tell you, it's English language.
It's having more vocabularies, Annie.
It's emotional control, emotional intelligence. We know when to swear and when not to swear. If it's important, furnish the concept with a few swear words. Makes us realize you're serious.
That makes us sound like the typical British.
I can tell you, I'm the most British person there ever has been.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, you might think I'm Nigerian, but I'm very British. So I do what the British do, apart from eat their food, obviously. I eat their food that I like, so we'll leave that alone. My friends, welcome, Lisa. Glad you're here. Welcome, Michael. Great to see you as well.
Who is
I'm sure you're at work, but thank you for joining us. You know the US times went forward, don't you, Christiana? I don't know if Lisa's time went forward.
I'm not sure if hers is. I'm not sure if hers has gone forward. She'll tell us. Lisa, tell us in the comments if yours has gone forward. That'd be great.
So where the US, we're 5 hours, 6 hours behind us now. They're 1 hour nearer.
Hi, Michael B. Welcome. Hi, Lisa.
It changes things a bit.
To you.
Now, my friends, if you're here, please drop us a comment. We will know you're here otherwise. Yeah, so we'd love to welcome you properly. Sarah says, you are two of Whisper Boys endorsed and recommended LinkedIn personality.
Thank you, Cyrus.
Thank you.
Yay!
We all need the help we can get, my friend. We all need the help we can get.
You just made my day. Awesome. Thank you so much. Love that. I wasn't expecting that, but I will take that, definitely. You are just...
There's loads of people here, but look, my friends, say something. I would say otherwise we won't know you're here properly. If you want to join the studio, so the link is in the comments. But if you want to send you the link, to your DM, then just let me know. And I will send
I
the
need
link.
to send one to Esther before I forget.
Coach David, welcome. And Lisa answered your question. My time doesn't move, but it's the same as Eastern Standard Time now. Okay, so
Okay.
before you were more like CST, Central
Yes.
Time, which is 6 hours behind us. Now you're 5 hours behind us.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose that's a good thing, right? Look, my
guess so.
friends, I'm still doing what I do best. I'm still publishing people's books. I'm still after my health anthology. Our agreement with the co-authors is finally done. So we need to. So we're getting going. I think I've got 3 people written the chapters already. Are you in the book, Christiana?
Am I in the book?
Yeah.
What book?
I survived health anthology and Christiana. Come on now.
You haven't formally requested.
Are you in the book?
me
Are you in the book? I'm doing it. I do things in public, Christiana.
in public?
I'm doing it now, right?
And we know why you do that, don't we?
Yeah.
Guess
so
what?
you say yes, Christiana.
I'm gonna be an American right now and have my Fourth Amendment.
Don't you want to tell people how you survive, Christiana? What
I
can we
do
learn
actually.
from you?
I do.
Yeah, what can we learn about your experience and your strategies? Was it medication, Christiana?
No.
Was it exercise? Was it lifestyle?
It's a combination
Was it
of things.
spirituality? Holistic health, like Lisa will talk
Combination.
about? A combination.
Combination
So
of
we need
things.
to know what that combination was, Christiana. We need to know what that combination was, right?
You have to wait and see and find out.
That's why you want to be in the book, don't you, Christiana? Yeah.
Let's talk about this after this show, Annie.
Welcome, Henry. I'm glad. I'm
Welcome,
really glad you're
Henry.
here. If you haven't met Henry, I'd say do connect with him. Interesting guy, really interesting.
Yes, people, let us know you're here. And
he talks health, so
he talks health massively.
Yeah, well, he's a cancer expert, so. But amongst other things, but if you've never met him, then do meet with him. You'd be fascinated, like I am. You're blown away, really. Christiana, what do you want to say?
Well, I was going to say, if you're here, you've joined us, welcome. We appreciate you. Please message us or please type in so we know you are here with us. Let me tell you a true story. I used to go to live events on LinkedIn. And because I clicked and I was watching the live event, right? I always used to think that I was in the show. It took a very long time for me to realize that actually I was just watching it from my screen. Nobody knew I was there. Nobody knew I was there. So I had to learn to type in to ensure that people knew, or the host knew, I was in the show. She kept saying to me, when are you going to come to my show? When are you going to come to my show? And I had to say, well, I'm there every week. One day she says to me, I've never seen you. So she said, did you type and you say anything? I said, no, I didn't say anything. I was just watching. So she said, you've got to type in for us to know you are in the show. So yes, it's urging you today. Type in, say something, let us know you're part of the show. I digress. Shall we begin the reason why we're all here this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're hailing from? And let us know where you're calling, where you're joining us from, to which country, which part of the world are you in, so that we can really appreciate you. We do already, but even more so. All right. Shall we talk about today's topic? Now, I'll always say 1 in 4 women will have experienced miscarriage, baby loss. Half of us will know somebody who either has experienced it in family, colleagues, church, social clubs, or wherever it is that we hang out and spend our time in. We'll know one person or would have heard of one person that has experienced miscarriage or baby loss. That in itself is quite a trauma to go through. And sometimes we find ourselves wondering, in terms of those who are experiencing it, wondering what we could have done differently. Could I have done anything better? I get this from my clients asking the question, was it me? Was it my fault? We internalize these things. I'm going to say to you safely, research is still ongoing when it comes to miscarriage or baby loss. And so please never blame yourself take the time to really understand, really get to process what you are going through. Take the time to ask the right questions, and also take the time to just be in the moment, remembering your loved lost ones. From perspective of those around us when this happens to us, I mean those who want to help, support us, be there for us, want to help us, walk us through what we're going through. Remember, patience is really important. Remember that you might want to help and you might be well-meaning, but take the time to ask the person going through this trauma how they would like to be supported, what would be best for them, and let them lead you in your quest to support and be there for them. With that being said, I began this with a conversation that I recently had and also an article that I read a few months ago. I've been doing this show and I thought to myself, I've never really talked about this topic specifically, although I speak about miscarriage, baby loss, the impact. And I know Paulette Hallam isn't here, but I remember her alluding and touching briefly on exactly what her experience was with this. Now, I know I'm not divulging anything that is private. She actually said it in a public space. So she's the only person I've come across on this platform doing this for all these months that has alluded to having experienced this trauma. And the trauma I speak about is VTS. What is VTS, you'll ask me? Well, VTS, the long medical term, is vanishing twin syndrome. Okay? And it isn't always just with twins, it'll be multiple fetus. So what does that mean? That means now when a woman is pregnant, and let me say this, to become pregnant is a miracle. To carry a pregnancy to full term and deliver a healthy baby is an even bigger miracle. So I want to applaud all the women, the women there who do this, like my mother, who went on to have 6 children, my mother-in-law who had 10 children. I want to applaud all of you because just having one alone, it's a miracle. And so VTS is really kind of vanishing twin syndrome. So with that, when a woman is pregnant with 2 or more babies and she loses one within the pregnancy, it's known as vanishing twin syndrome. Now there are other names that people use. I would say people, both in medical terms and those of us that experience it when it comes to vanishing twin. So another name for it is twin reabsorption, okay, or disappearing twin syndrome. And really, it refers to a spontaneous loss of a fetus, okay, or one of the twins of multiple twin pregnancy, where the fetus or the tissue is absorbed by the mother, or in some cases, the actual twin, which means that the twin ends up carrying both DNAs. So the twin that survives, let me rephrase that, the surviving twin carries both DNAs in some cases. And so this, for me, when I first heard the word vanishing twin, it kind of blew my mind. For quite some time, I kept thinking, do I talk about this or not talk about it? But I'm so happy we're having this conversation today. It really blew my mind because, like I said, to become pregnant is a miracle. To reach full term is another miracle, an even bigger miracle. To then have and I'm somebody who is always fascinated by nature. That's just my nature, to be honest. It fascinates me. And when I heard this term, I thought, what does that mean? And I've heard people kind of joke about it and say, oh, one twin ate the other twin. And people laugh about it. But the reality is the surviving twin absorbs the deceased twin, right? And I remember Paulette saying that. And when she was speaking to her surviving child about it, it was, what happened? Or you ate your twin, or what happened? And she had to explain what vanishing twin syndrome is to her son. And here, what really just happened is your twin or the surviving twin does absorb the living, the surviving twin absorbs the deceased twin. And so, like I said, when I first heard this, I was so fascinated. I'm thinking, how does that happen? When did that happen? And in some cases, you have the placenta that they share, and all of that is absorbed by the mother's body for some women, or by the twin for some women. So it varies. No, no two vanishing twin syndrome are the same in nature, is what I'm going to say to you. In terms of some of the common names, I'm going to go through into twin resorption, disappearing twin syndrome. Like I've mentioned earlier on, is an early spontaneous loss of a fetus. And what happens is we usually know that, well, not you guys wouldn't know this, but I know this. In terms of that, sometimes what happens is the parent, or the mother who's carrying that child, because this happens in an early trimester, you won't even know. Now, unless you've had a scan previously to determine that you have a twin, you won't know when that happens. You won't know that there was a twin, let alone the twin then vanishing and the surviving twin absorbing. Or if they're triplets and you have one of the triplets that does become deceased, a parent wouldn't know. The reason being that with vanishing twin syndrome, there isn't necessarily anything specific that you will experience within the premise of miscarriage. So women will go through the same back pain, pelvic pain, spotting. They'll also go through, for some women, they go through a headache too, which I can speak from my personal experience with miscarriage. I had what felt like a great and almighty headache. I can't even explain it with words, but I knew, and I still know how it felt. I knew something was wrong when I was going through it. So for some women, they're aware that something is going wrong and they're not sure what that something is. Here's what I say to you. You must seek medical attention immediately if that is what you are experiencing. And also, I'm interested in those who perhaps have been through this before. Feel free to jump on stage, jump on with us in the studio and tell us what your experience is. Share with us exactly, or maybe you might not show exactly what you've been through, but how did you feel? Did you have any symptoms? Were you aware of what was happening? When you heard that, what was your reaction? Naturally, we are in the state of mind of shock to begin with, because you're not expecting to have that. I've got some LinkedIn user, not sure who that is. And do we know who LinkedIn user is?
I think he's Jan. I think not James. I think, yeah. Best regards from Jan. Thank you for letting me be here again.
Thank you so much for being here, and also welcome. Coach David is here. I've just seen that. Great, love it. Thank you for joining us. You are very welcome. So
I think Abiona has just joined us. So good for me to be here. Greetings to you all.
Thank you.
That
so good to see you too. So here is the thing. We know that 20 to 30% of twin pregnancies, end in VTS, which is vanishing twin syndrome.
Really?
Yes.
Never heard of it before. Never heard of it before.
Of twin pregnancies. That's the reason why I'm speaking about this today, because although I've had these conversations behind the scenes and so on and so forth, I started to think, especially when I saw this article recently, I thought to myself, that is the one thing I've not spoken about on this show. And that's the reason why I decided to bring this on this show. And the reason why I think that I put up my post event so late, because I kept thinking, I was initially going to speak about, with it being March and this being Women's Month, I was going to speak about, acceleration of action for women to be able to support each other when it comes to, pregnancy and pregnancy losses within the work environment. Because some women have told me that they've had really negative experience at the hands of other females. And that was initially going to be what I was going to talk about today. But then I changed that to VTS because I looked at all the shows previously and we hadn't really mentioned VTS at any point. And so I thought the article to me was a sign, and a conversation that I had, just over a week ago became something I thought, do you know something? That's my sign. That's my nod to talk about this very subject. And here you are, Annie, saying, I've never heard about it before. I'm interested. Can I please have some comments in the comments to let me know if you've ever come across the term VTS, vanishing twin syndrome, or twin absorption, or disappearing twin? Those who are currently in this audience, can you please type in for me? You'll be doing me a huge favor so I can get to understand. This is the reason why we talk about these things, because sometimes as those who are experts doing what they're doing, we might make the assumption people are already aware of these things and we know have experienced it in different spaces, or they might know those who've experienced it in different spaces, and far from it, so it's always good for me to check to know if people are aware of this, if they've heard it before, and foster a conversation about this. So with that being said, Annie, so tell me, Annie, you sound quite surprised.
Yes. No, welcome, Luz. No, welcome. So Lisa
Welcome,
says
Liz.
really interested in info, Christiana. Look, I don't know how I would take it. It's nothing that it never crossed my mind once.
Okay.
So that's why I'm kind of like, wow, okay, it's a phenomenon. It's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
When you ask a question, when does it happen? When does it go wrong? I'm just like, wow, I don't know. And what do I think about? Oh, I guess it creates all sorts of feelings.
Yes.
Total confusion. Because the surviving twin, yes, great, thank goodness, right?
Yes.
I don't know what to feel about the other one. I really don't, because I suppose because you don't plan to have twins to start, right?
No.
You plan to have one, and then you're told, oh, you got twins, and you're like, oh, damn, that's going to be hard work, right?
Maybe for you.
I'll take it.
Maybe for you it's going to be hard work, but there are those who, for example, I'll tell you why I said that. Those who, for them, it has been, again, with the work I do, I see a lot of people, a lot of couples or women who this is their dream. It's been a journey, and I can speak from my personal experience, right? When you go through 7 years of conceiving, 7 years of work, 7 years of beating down a door, 7 years of wanting to be heard, 7 years of being blocked by professionals who knowingly blocked you from actual treatment that you need to get to be able to go and be on your journey of conception, right? And you discover that. And imagine then discovering that when you're feeling like, oh my God, time is passing, and now have twins. For some people, they are elated because it means that I'm going to be having twins. I'm having 2 children for the 7 years that I've missed out on having children. So you got to really think about how people, each one of us thinks so differently. For me, that would not have been a problem. It would have been awesome. And also because
having twins.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what if that's your reality,
awesome.
If that's your reality, then you have to adapt to it, right?
Exactly.
Very quickly.
Exactly. Very quickly.
But then this is what causes my confusion, because now you've had baby loss, but you've got a kid. Michelle says you mourn. Yeah, that's why I put it. You mourn when that happens. I'm at a loss because I can't mourn. I have to celebrate the one I've got.
But you can do both. You can do both. This is what we speak about. You can do both. Okay.
So you're welcome. At the same time. Can
But
you?
you can. Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Wow.
And again, can we have in the chat, please? Do you think, this is a nice one. Let's do a vote, okay, with our audience. Hi,
Welcome, Linda. Why she doing
Welcome,
her
Linda.
vote?
So let's take a vote on this. Can you be happy and sad around
No.
about the same
No.
time?
You
Who says
only have
yes?
one emotion.
So Lewis's hand is up. Who says yes? Let me see your yes and let me see your no, or let me see if you think you can do both.
There's
Or
always
one
a
or the
savior
other.
in any world, Christiana. That savior, is Coach David. He'll tell you all about it. He'll tell you what really happens.
Before Coach David comes along, let us
Coach, enlighten us.
hold on. Let us ask the audience who are here. So I want to hear from, please. I want to hear from Lisa, Linda, Luce, Abiona, if you're here, Coach David,
Caroline,
Jen, Caroline,
Cyrus.
Lisa, Cyrus, Michael B. Right?
Yeah.
Let's hear from people who are here to let us know what their thoughts are. Can you be sad and happy at the same time, or run about the same period of time? Let us know. Yes or no in the comment section, please.
While she's doing that,
Let's
talk to Coach. Let's see what he wants to add to our conversation.
Yes, let's talk to Coach.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm so sorry I couldn't. I came in a little bit late. I'm sorry I can't put on my video. Christiana, how are you?
I'm good. So blessed to be here.
Yeah. So good to see you. Michael, I see you. Linda, Michelle, amazing people. Thank you for showing up to support Christiana. And the godfather of LinkedIn. Annie, you're a good man. Thank you so much for all you're doing for thought leaders like Christiana all over the world and all authors. Our generation is lucky to have you. We are graced to have you, and that's not an understatement because you care genuinely about people, and you really want people to grow and succeed. No matter what, you see positivity, and that's a good one. Well, what you're describing, yeah, thank you. Christiana, is very traumatic what you're discussing, and we don't pray for it.
No.
And we have statistics that says a certain number of VTSs will happen in a lifetime. So if anything happens to anyone like that, please don't get into the victim zone. It's not easy. That's like saying someone that had an accident should not get into the accident zone. They're already in the accident zone, for God's sakes.
Yes, exactly.
So we can't tell them. Yes, but in Africa and among Africans and Black people, there's this tendency to think that maybe you offended someone, maybe God is against you, maybe there is a problem in your lineage. I mean, all sorts and all sorts.
Or you're cursed.
Or you're cursed. Yeah. The first thing first is your mental health. That's all you have. Any spiritual intervention or explanation that adds or piles up the guilt. We're grateful there is one baby, but losing any baby at all when you're expecting two, you now have one, for whatever reason, is already traumatic on your soul. You're impacted. So please love yourself by not dwelling on the negative pictures. That's the first thing. The other thing, like I said the last time when we were discussing again, is support systems of the people around. The third one is slightly more complex, and that is the fact that there's a mixed feeling. Already giving birth deals with the hormones for different women. Some women even have temporary mental, I forgot the name is called in medicine now, where they're going to have real mental issues. There's some level of
so there's postpartum.
Postpartum depression. That's what it's called, depression. So you have a joy of one baby, that's postpartum excitement and happiness and joy. So there's all the energy around the welcoming of a new baby, and then there's postpartum depression because so now if you think that having postpartum depression is bad, anyone should wait until, and God forbid, that mixed feeling can kill. It's a younger version of bipolar disorder, where you are moving to range of emotions. I mean, this baby is crying, and you can still feel the energy that you lost one other baby. You must be happy and take care. This new baby must feel nourishment and joy. And the second baby that didn't come, you are mourning. Now, that's a very complex place for a mother to be.
Yes.
Very complex space. Very, very complex, especially if you were truly excited for having a twin, or twins were coming, or quadruple, whatever was coming. You and you see your body carried two babies in court at the time, and then your body took in one, or something happens and one. It's a very complex. I mean, some people go on hating their bodies, and they never return back to the beautiful lady psychologically that they were before that incident. So if someone has gone through that trauma, we need to heal the person. We all need, and there's this a point to say there are professional healers like Christina, and there are professional joy givers like Emmy. And like everyone on the call, we have a gift to give to the world around us. There's always someone who can help you overcome that trauma. But we need to attend to that trauma. The fact that there's a baby to hold does not mean you're not mourning. And that mourning, three things happen with loss of any baby. Whether legit, whatever you do is shame, guilt. What's the third one? The three popular emotions: shame, guilt, and
there's fear in that one.
Fear, yeah. Shame, guilt, and fear.
fear.
It leaves you with shame, guilt, and fear. There's a psychology of shame, a psychology of fear, and psychology of guilt. They are mental meta models that operate a certain way in the confines of your soul.
Absolutely.
Now, when you give birth to a baby, there are three things that happen to you on the positive emotional side. You are joyous and elated. You are hopeful of a new future. The third thing that happens to you is that your sense of meaning increases.
And self-worth.
Thank you. Now, just imagine, I just described to you, loss gives you three emotions on the positive plane, three negative emotions on the positive plane. And people process emotions differently. So you can have mild fear or just a small panic attack on the scale of fear. Level 2 can be fearful. Level 3 can be intense fear. Level 4 can be fear that you want to commit suicide because there's no tomorrow. There's hopelessness and despondency. Now, the scale is longer, is bigger than this, can be 12 on the fear plane alone. So imagine a woman that's a level 3 on fear. On shame has its own scale. She's on level 2. And then on what's the other one now? On the guilt plane, she's also on level 1 or 2 or 3, whichever, however. On the happiness or the good scale, sense of self-esteem and self-worth, high. Sense of meaning and purpose in life that's increased, maybe medium because the baby is living. Just imagine the range, like playing piano. Is that our emotions are playing the piano? There's some harmonics going on there. So it would involve people kill the living baby. Women murder the living baby in clinical conditions. Those are very serious, grave. So, I believe in prayer. So a lot of prayer and a lot of affirmation and a lot of care is needed, and the woman must be willing to heal. So that's my take on VTS, and I think there is a lot to do for the people around to rally the emotions. Definitely, you will need therapy to know how those three factors are affecting you and how you're coping. And based on where you're on the emotional spectrum, there's a way it is scaled in both clinical psychology and positive psychology, and then you can go for the interventions. But I have never been a fan of medications, except we're doing proper psychiatry. So the care, adequate care, I don't think what we have in the insurance packages of many health trusts is enough to take care of the range of professionals that a woman who's gone through VTS would need. There's also the victim from the father. There's also the father who was suspecting to, who has probably made boasts over beer.
Absolutely.
That we're expecting, we are going to be 6 in the house.
Joyous.
You know? And all of a sudden, instead of 6, we are reduced to 4 again, you know. It's a very complex place to be. And you must be a good father to the one who is alive. The one who is alive must not feel, because babies taking your emotions.
They
Babies
absorb it,
taking your emotions. So the
definitely.
one who is alive must feel the energy of love, must not feel the sadness. Those are very complex things to uh achieve. Yeah, Lisa says, I think you can feel both at the same time. Yes, mixed feelings. But you see,
Thank you,
and
Lisa.
this is a good one, Lisa. But Lisa, this is a good one. But sad
Yeah.
that you be leaving your friends is a good sadness. In quotes, when it is the loss, yes, you can feel that. But when it's a loss of that magnitude and intensity, it's slightly deep. And you must be, for the positive purpose, remain positive on the outside. Those are very strong emotional. Your emotional muscles will be tested.
They
Yeah, so
will
those are,
be.
thank you, Christina. Yeah.
Thank you. Do you know, I agree with what you said, and I think it's really important in saying that what I said previously. Imagine you're experiencing a miracle. To conceive is a miracle to begin with, and you're elated, and then you discover it's not just the one, but the two. Don't listen to what Annie said, because Annie might not be happy about it. But there are those of us who would be elated about it and really want that for us in our lives. Okay. And so imagine having that joy and having that joy ripped away from you, because now you've discovered that the two has become one. And so your emotions are all over the place. As pregnant women, hormonal, our hormones all over the place to begin with, let alone when we add things like the loss of a loved one that we're yet to meet or haven't met. And in some cases, you'll have women who, would have told so many stories, bought everything they needed, twin this, twin that, and your home is filled with all the clothes and all the items that you're looking forward to welcoming both your babies into the world. And then now you have this child, and then you're having to think, okay, what happens now? What do I do now? I only have one baby. And Coach David is right in what he says. You know, as I said previously, to seek professional help. It's really important, because you're going to be going through so many emotions. Confusion sets in. The shock to begin with, it's a big one. Then you're confused, because you're joyous that you're having a baby who is here. What about the one we missed, the one that we lost? What do we do? How do we remember that child? And I'm going to say child because it would have become a child. How do we remember that child? So this is a very complex area. And the reason why I haven't spoken about this for quite some time is because it's complex. And also because
She's ignoring me.
who is ignoring you?
You. I'm putting my hand up. Right.
Oh, you put your hand up.
I'm not waving at you. I'm putting my hand up to speak.
Are you still? Oh, yes. Okay. You may speak, Emily.
Thank you. Thank you. As Lisa says, what does Lisa say? Made me laugh. Any says unique basket case. Yes, she forgot the word basket in there somewhere. I don't know. I know what you mean, Lisa. I am that.
Lisa, I could tell you so many stories about this. But yes. Annie is well known for that. Don't worry about it. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra. Sandra's our LinkedIn user.
Hi,
And
Sandra.
Teresa, we
Well,
see you as well. Thank you, Teresa. Thanks for joining us.
But yes,
Michael Rivers, we see you too, my friend. We see you too. Yeah.
Annie, yes, you are a special case. I wouldn't go to say a basket case, but you are.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I guess I think it feels a bit unfair on the living child. 2 points, maybe. Now then, I'll stop talking. Right? It feels. Okay. I think we need to feel the ultimate joy of that miracle, of that one child. Right? Mm-hmm. That's my take. Because the other one, the other point I'll make, Christian, is that it's different. It feels different from a miscarriage of the second child. Don't ask me why. You just feel like it feels. This feels like, I don't know whether it's nature or science, but like this is not an unborn child. This is a child that was there and now it's not there. You mean it feels different to baby loss the way we know it.
But it's still a loss. It is effectively still a loss. The loss is you have one twin. In some cases, you have women experience is it chimera? It's called, which is when the surviving child absorbs the DNA of the deceased child, so they're born with two different DNAs.
What?
Right?
How many chromosomes are we talking?
Sorry?
More chromosomes or different chromosomes or what?
More chromosomes. So think about it. So you can have a child that might have an extra special gift as a result of not having a twin that is alive, okay, because they've absorbed their DNA. And yes, this is the reason I say to you, I find humans and human nature and bringing in a human into this world so fascinating, because there's so many things that happens in utero when you are pregnant that but we don't really get to talk about it. You don't really get to hear the ins and outs, because imagine if we all told our stories about our pregnancies, about about
Amy's blanket. Where's my blanket? I'm hiding. Lisa, come and save me.
Bringing children into the world, right? And then you just you wouldn't find a blanket. You're gonna find an armored car to hide in.
Yeah, and I'll get one of those too.
Right. So it's a fascinating thing. But we see more VTS in IVF, so assisted pregnancies. So more VTS happens in those situations, and it stands to reason. It makes sense too. So, but think about it. When this happens, typically, it happens within our first trimester for most people. However, there are times that will happen in a second trimester. That's even more difficult to digest, because now you've seen that fetus, you've heard a heartbeat, and there's no heartbeat, there's nothing left. How do you unsee? No, because the body absorbs, either the mother's body absorbs or the surviving twin absorbs all of it. So exactly. Fascinating. I was trying to think of how to really explain this, but it isn't something you can just explain away.
Right.
You've got to see that, and the reason why I personally, like I said, I'm fascinated about nature and how it works. We think that as humans we know everything. Sometimes doctors can't even explain what's happening. They cannot explain what's happened. They can just say, this is what's happened, so tell me why and how and all these things. We can only say it vanished. Abnormalities, okay, so chromosomal abnormalities usually is one of the main causes of miscarriages. The same thing happens in VTS.
Hold that thought for a second, Christiana.
Yes, I will hold my thought.
Andre, welcome. Andre's our burnout specialist. Glad you're here. And it's got rooms going again. So it started on Tuesday. Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday.
Yay.
Yeah. 6:30.
Thank you for being here.
Natasha.
I appreciate you. Actually, I missed their event this week, Annie.
Because you missed many events this week, Christiana, but I'm used to it. I'm all right.
I've missed the events this week.
Right. Look, let me say this, and I'll pass the mic to Michelle. Right. Back to you, and then let's talk to Michelle. Right?
Yes.
See, did you see this new law in this country, bereavement rights for people who experience miscarriage and baby loss? That's what the news yesterday. Yeah, I agree. We're going to talk about it, right?
We will in our next one.
I'm trying to place this conversation, VTS, into a company policy, and I'm struggling because
What do
now
you
you got a
mean?
conversation. The employer will look at you and go, "I'm sorry, explain that again."
Why are you struggling?
Baby was there, now it's not there.
It is
But the other
still a
ones, but the other
bereavement.
ones, all right. And the employer will look at you and go, "I don't know, I don't get it. You should be happy."
What is okay? All right. I am glad that you're doing this, and I'm glad you're mentioning this because let's think about this. When the fight for bereavement of miscarriage and baby loss began, initially they were like, well, we don't get this. This is just, it's like bereavement. Just take a bereavement leave or put it on another leave or sick leave or something along those lines. And the reality is, it is so much more than that because of the impact it has. And moments ago, we spoke about how can you be happy and sad at the same time? You've had you have a joy in your hand. You're carrying a baby that you finally managed to bring into the world. And yet you have lost a baby that should have been coming into the world with their brother or their sister, right? What is there to get? I've lost a child. Whether we were twins, whether I have one child that survived, it shouldn't matter. The fact of the matter is, a loss is a loss. A mother, a couple, or parents will still grieve for their lost loved one. So, as an employer, and I'm hoping that, I'm hoping that we don't have employers here who are going to say, well, you have a child, be grateful, enjoy your life, and look after the loved one and pour your love into that one. We still have to remember those babies or fetus that we lost. You're expecting 2 children, now you have 1. Does that mean that I forget about the one that I didn't have? That being said, it doesn't mean that I forget about the living child. I still have joy for that living child, but I will remember the baby that I lost or the pregnancy, the fetus that I lost along the way. So when it comes to employers, I'm not sure why they would get confused, because a loss is still a loss. In whatever shape or form it takes, it is still a loss regardless. Right. I'm going to come to Michelle before I continue. Michelle, welcome. So good to see you here. How are you doing today? And thank you for joining us.
Are you stuck or are you on mute? You're stuck
She's
on
on
mute.
mute. She's
No, but
muted.
I think no, her screen is frozen.
Yeah, it is actually. It is
Hmm.
frozen. Okay, while she sorts herself out, I'm going to move forward to the next one. I have touched briefly on what causes VTS. Is the same as miscarriage, abnormalities of the chromosomal abnormalities. That being said, like I mentioned earlier, the surviving twin, in some cases, will absorb the DNA of the deceased twin. Okay. And so, how is it diagnosed? Usually, it's diagnosed through ultrasound, where a second gestational sac will be found. So again, when that happens, you have this, without turning too grim and graphic, you still have the sac. The sac in itself initially is visible, but later on, that sac that the baby was in disappears. So again, the body absorbs the sac. And I don't want to blow your mind again. I don't want to blow your mind again, Annie. But the reality is, it's the reason why it's called vanishing, right? Everything about that fetus vanishes into mother and the surviving baby's system. Okay. And so this is one thing that healthcare practitioners look at as a marvel when it comes to when it comes to twins or triplets. But here's what I'm going to say to you is, if in any case you find yourself in this situation, as a reminder, really speak out. Speak about how you're feeling. Allow yourself to communicate with your partner, with a trusted loved one. Please do not internalize. Do not sit in the fear that you feel, the shock you're going through, the guilt that you carry. And I'm going to say this, in no way is this your fault. It isn't something that you have done wrong or should have been doing or didn't do. All the things that we tell ourselves. Think about this and know that you personally haven't done anything wrong for this to happen. And as Coach David mentioned earlier, this is not some kind of curse or karma. I've heard this one before. I've heard things like karma, you're bewitched, you're cursed, and all these crazy things that humans tell other humans because of their lack of knowledge, because of their lack of compassion. Remember, there's help out there. I'm here, and anybody else you choose to help you. Just know that when you go for help, really express how you're feeling. As my niece will say to me, speak up. Speak up. Speak up and let people know how you feel. If you're in a working place, a work environment, and you feel that you're not able to express that, as Annie mentioned earlier, as we are aware now in the UK, the law allows us to have these time off. Do not feel the pressure of having to think, I have this project on right now that I need to look after at work and I need to be here. I've had women who've had experience like this going to work 2 days later. Please don't do it, because it has a longer lasting damage and implication further on down the line. Take the time to process what you're going through. And if you're in a couple, both of you take the time to be patient with each other and look after each other with this trauma. What are your symptoms? Many experience no symptoms, or some experience symptoms very similar to miscarriage. Your symptoms could be things like your cramping, so mild cramping. I mentioned earlier, when I experienced miscarriage, I remember the second time I had this crane of a headache in my head. And I've met women since who've explained headache, like severe, intense headache, that they thought was a migraine. And in the process of them experiencing a loss, they have this headache. They can have bleeding, also pelvic pain is another one, back pain, so intense back pain, lower back pain. I'll say between your L4 and your L5, you'll experience a lot of back pain, which means lumbar 4 and lumbar 5. You'll experience back pain, and also spotting. So you also have spotting. Some women have explained that they do experience spotting in this loss, but they wouldn't have known. They just thought, oh, I'm just spotting, nothing is wrong. When you experience any one of these during your trimester, first trimester, second trimester, just touching second trimester, please get in contact with your healthcare practitioner. Get yourself scanned to understand, or ultrasound, to understand what's going on, and to be able to get to the root of what the issue is. Okay. Let's think about it. The baby that survived continues to develop. At this juncture, what tends to
Oh no. Oh no. No, let me not say oh no. Christiana will come back, I'm sure. Michelle, you're back. You're moving.
Hi, you guys. Sorry
How
about
are you?
We're doing well.
I want to tell everyone something, even though this isn't about mental health. This isn't about miscarriage. I had an episode yesterday, and so this is what it looks like the day after.
Sorry
I
to
am
hear
me.
that. But
Oh,
it's
no,
true
no.
here.
It was. I think you slept well. You know, by the numbers of hours. Yeah.
I did, but I do have a question for the beautiful Christina. Now when they do intro,
Mhm.
and you're not training your own child, can the twin be dissolved?
So you're breaking up. I think I heard when they do intro.
Mm.
Is Michelle frozen again?
Mm.
So I'm wondering if she's asking the question when they do in vitro
Yeah.
and the child isn't yours. So is the child being with? Is that with a surrogate or what's the? I'm going to make an. Oh, she's back, Michelle.
Yeah, she's back.
Karen, your question, please. I heard intro. Are we speaking of in vitro?
Yes. Now, when the original mother's not carrying twins,
Mm-hmm.
in vitro, is it easy for twins to be dissolved? Like it is. Is there anything we can do medically, I guess you can say, if someone else is carrying your children so they don't dissolve?
Not really, because we've got to think about it. It's nature. You cannot necessarily control nature. So I'm making this okay. So what I'm hearing you say is, are we looking at when it's a surrogacy via in vitro, or is the mother carrying that child? I'm trying to understand your question
No,
first.
no, no. A different person is carrying the mother's twins.
Okay.
Now, since that mother can't carry children, say the
Mm-hmm.
mother can't carry children because
Yes,
it
and she's sorry.
will
And
affect
she's
the
got
children.
yes.
When the other person is carrying the children for her, can
So
that person's body do something to it?
not necessarily, because we have people that do. So what you're speaking of, first of all, is surrogacy. It's when
Yes.
another woman carries a baby for a woman who's not able to carry her own babies, right, or her own child or pregnancy, right? So this is what I mean by nature is unpredictable. If, especially when it comes to in vitro treatment, there's nothing that we can do or anybody can do to stop VTS from happening because it's nature. Doesn't mean that where the baby is being housed, there's any issue with that, because they would have undergone long investigation, all the checks, everything that needs to be done for that surrogate mother to be able to house, the pregnancy and to be able to carry the pregnancy. So really, there's nothing that we can do because nature detects that. Ultimately, we just have to it will be like you carrying your own child in the same way. And I think this is where the myths and misconceptions that I've heard and I've come across since doing this is that we think that because somebody's carrying our child, it's going to be really different and it's going to, they're going to have X, Y, and Z. The reality is, before you become a surrogate, there is so much that you have to go through as a surrogate. So many investigations, so many, preparation. Dr. Noella previously on our show spoke about preconceptions, right?
Yeah.
It's no different to a mother who's carrying her own child. And so they have to prepare the body for that to happen. In fact, because the surrogacy more so than a mother themselves. So there's nothing that we can do when it comes to nature. As I like to say, nature takes its course and we just have to sit back and wait and watch. Unfortunately, I'd wish that we could literally control and do everything and have both babies born. But the reality is that's just nature. You just gotta sit back and say, hey, you do your thing. Whatever happens, happens. But I know I'm making light of it. In reality, the surrogate mother or surrogate person has to go through, a period of examination, a period of preparation, and really prepare themselves for that to happen, because everything they're going through, the mother would have been going through is what they are going to be going through carrying those babies. So
No, that makes
great
sense.
question.
I think it's a great question. I mean, maybe we need to talk about surrogacy someday, Christiana.
There's a lot that we're going to be talking about this year. I have so many things to talk about, on this show. So we're going to hear it all, quite frankly. So, Michelle, thank you.
We lost Esther.
We did. I'm hoping she comes back on stage. So Esther is a pregnancy consultant, and I invited her to the show to hear her own perspective, like we're all sharing. She graciously indulged me. Bless her. I think her network isn't as strong.
She's back. She's back. She's back. I was going to come back to you, Michelle. Let's talk to Esther, and then we'll come to you. Esther, thanks for coming back.
Yes, welcome, and thanks for being here.
I was just lamenting that you fell off, but you're back.
Oh, sorry. Thank you all.
Regards
to everyone at the studio.
Hi, great to see you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
How are
Michelle,
you doing?
hello. Yeah. Sorry, I had to cut short Michelle's session, but it was so interesting. I loved her last question.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the end of what Christiana had to say about it. I hope it was ended.
Yes, I was just saying, I think Michelle's question essentially is, does something different happen when a woman is a surrogate for another woman? And I was saying that actually when it comes to that pregnancy, just like the mother, the woman would have to go through preconceptional stages, and even more so for a surrogate. And they would have to go through examinations and different things before they become suitable to be carrying the woman's baby. In terms of when it comes to VTS, there really isn't anything that we can do about it, because we allow nature to take its course, and nature does happen. You cannot stop, vanishing twin from happening. In vitro, especially for patients who are going or doing this via in vitro. So that was what you missed when you dropped off. So welcome. Let us hear your take on our discussion today. What's your thought? I know that you and I had our conversations. What's your thought on VTS? And thank you for being here. Are you frozen? Can you hear me, Esther? I think Esther is frozen, Annie.
Esther is in the movie Frozen right now, hanging out.
I can see that. She'll come back again in a second, I'm sure. Michelle.
While she comes.
Christiana responded to you. I don't know what's happened. I can't move anyone to me on the screen. That's what I know. Okay.
I know in America we're having so many problems, I guess, but that's just because we're getting everything actually put in now.
Rather strange. It's a strange thing to say. I guess we always think America is ahead on most things, but there are many things in social care and health that seem a bit behind.
I would say rural communities have a lot of problems, and especially when it comes to pregnancy, like what you're doing, beautiful. I can honestly tell you, almost every rural hospital, at least in my state, doesn't deliver babies. You actually, if you live in Ely, Nevada, you got a 2.5 hours, well, maybe 3 hours of a drive all the way to Reno to deliver a baby, or here's the beautiful part. You can't go into the hospital to deliver your baby because they don't have the insurance for it at the hospital. But gosh darn it, you can go right out there to that ambulance, right in the parking lot, and have your child there and then be care flighted.
That's crazy.
And we're fixing it right now. They're fixing it, and they are. I don't care what anyone says. They don't forget.
They better fix it fast, because as you and I are speaking right now, there is a mother out there who's perhaps due for delivery.
Exactly. But you know what we have found? Now listen to this. What we have, what I've noticed. I do a lot of research. I'm a geek that way.
Yay.
I
So do
know. I've noticed with pregnant women that do drugs, especially fentanyl, they don't want to get in trouble. So they will go to a rural town, go to a motel, call the ambulance, have that child in the ambulance so the child's documented and it gets taken care of. But first of all, they don't go to jail, prison, because they're not going to have their blood drawn because they're on drugs and they don't have to get the baby taken away.
Smart
And
thinking. Not good, but smart thinking.
Yeah, right. And so unfortunately in
Not
rural,
condoned, by the way.
yeah, it's not a good idea. But, unfortunately, that's what's happening here, and they're fixing it right now. We actually did just get an awesome new care flight bus that will fly to these different rural communities to pick up pregnant women. But I know when I was pregnant, gosh, the first time it was like my water broke, and they honestly gave me a towel at the rural hospital, said, "Here, sit on this, and then your grandmother's going to drive you to the hospital in Reno." And I was just like, we all know I'm not of age right now. I don't know what the hell's going on. And you just scared me a little bit more. Because they honestly just gave me a towel and said, "Here, sit on this."
Wow.
So, I mean, we are getting better and everything. I just wanted to know exactly though, say like, I've noticed a lot of older women having kids, but they're also using surrogates. Now, since they can't carry the child, it has nothing. How do I phrase this? Oh, like when they're in this, when the baby's in the surrogate's body can't hurt the baby, can it? That's what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yes, I think that's exactly the question you're asking. So, like I mentioned earlier, they have to go through preconception stage, especially because they are going to be carrying another person's child. So the parent who's asking for a surrogate to carry their child, they would have to go through that. And most women, that's a prerequisite for a surrogate to be examined, to have a look at any pre-existing conditions that they're not aware of. And it is actually known, has been known for a woman approaching a surrogate and they having their examination done and detecting from that examination, detecting health issues or concerns that may not they themselves, the surrogate, may not be aware of, which is the reason why for me surrogacy is something that I find interesting, because sometimes we detect things that we didn't know was there, and that helps that person in the long run, because now you have an issue that you can say, oh my goodness, this is here, for example, pre-diabetic. You would not have known that you're pre-diabetic until you had to undergo this process. And now we can treat this, or now we can find a way of making sure that you are now safe, and when you become pregnant, you don't fall into gestational diabetes even further down the line. So it's really important that surrogates go through that process so that we can carry a healthy baby.
Sorry, Michelle. Carry on talking. There's
Right.
no one to save you, Michelle.
I got a little curious here, though. I mean,
She
how
fell
did
off.
this work?
She fell off. Just fell off.
I fell off.
Linda, welcome, Linda.
Hi,
You
Linda.
you came back quite quick. That's quite good. You came back very quickly.
I was determined to come straight back. So as I was saying, with regards to surrogacy, it's really great, because the great thing about it is that they go through all of these steps. Sometimes we detect things like pre-existing condition that now can get the attention he needs before they embark on the journey, which gives that surrogate an opportunity to carry a baby, and to carry a baby that is going to be healthy, it's going to be born healthy, and they themselves are going to be safe. So both, carrier and baby or babies are safe. In event of VTS, nobody can control what happens. It's a case of we move forward with one baby, right? For the
Yeah.
parent who's waiting for the both babies, that's going to be traumatic, naturally, and also for the person who's carrying the baby. So the surrogate also, research shows there has been some emotional, thoughts, feelings about VTS happening with a surrogate. So and the reality is, why not? Because you're human. As long as you're a human being, you're going to have some kind of emotion.
Yes.
You will do. And I know you're not supposed to be attached as a surrogate to that baby, but when there's a loss, your emotions are not just about you, but it's also for the parent you're about to hand over that remaining or surviving baby to, because you are a compassionate person, and you're going to be feeling that for them ultimately.
That
Okay,
makes
so
sense.
which does make sense. And for me, is that it's the risk factor in VTS. Let's look at women who are over 30, for example. There's a higher risk of that happening, of VTS happening. And then we talk about women in the 40s, there's an equally higher risks of VTS happening, especially when they've gone through any assisted reproductive technology, okay, such as IVF. The likelihood of that happening is even greater. And so we always say, as you go through the journey, ensure, here is my take, and here is what I'm saying to you from a professional perspective, but also from a human perspective. Do all that you can at the preconception stage to ensure that you go into this healthily, sound, so that you give those babies better chance of both surviving. Now, I'm not saying that it's your fault. I'm not saying there's something that you've done, but it's better for us to be even more healthier, to give ourselves the opportunity of expecting both babies or triplets being born, and for some people, four, quads being born. Imagine that. I was sent, because of the work I do, I get a lot of different videos when it comes to pregnancy and conception. I was sent a video of a woman carrying 5 babies. And
Sorry,
I was,
sorry. We're gonna have to stop you. When Esther comes back, sorry, Christiane, you
oh,
can't
she's
speak.
here. Yay.
So Teresa says it's such a great topic. You're giving a huge consultation for free. That's what Christiana does. Right. Esther,
Hi, Teresa. Thank
without further
you.
ado, please share with us. And you might fall off again.
Hi, Esther. Welcome.
You're on mute. You're muted. So unmute first, please.
My mic
Yay.
was mute. We are work in a remote area, so it's really not easy for me. But I'd give you my word that I had to be here, so I definitely had to come.
You're doing
Thank you
great.
so much. You're doing
Thank you for
great.
persisting. Thank you for going again and again and again. Let's try and do this. Let's try and get something from you this time that we can learn from. Oh no.
Okay.
Each time you freeze, we go up. So,
Sorry. Oh.
So can you hear us right now?
Yes, I can, loud enough.
Okay, so what's your thoughts on VTS? Come share with us.
Let me just go to the first story Michelle was trying to share about in the case of surrogacy. I think it wouldn't be any different because, vanishing twins is also known as twin reabsorption or amniotic reabsorption, where a lady carrying 2 babies, or 3, most commonly 2 babies, and then one is being reabsorbed. Sometimes the lady, okay, the lady can also experiencing, visible signs of miscarriages. But I personally want to the case of vanishing twins or fetal reabsorption, having 2 babies. I don't know if anybody can relate. You having 2 babies, and then over the next visit, you realize, even if you realize, one of the twins maybe reabsorbed, or you had a case of experiencing like a miscarriage, then you are told it was a case of a vanishing twin. I don't know if I'm being heard at the studio.
We
I
can
don't
hear
know
you.
if
You're
I'm
breaking up a little, but we can still hear you. We can still hear you. Yes.
okay. I don't know if I'm clear enough. So I'm talking with respect to mental health that these families face and how they take
Mhm.
cases like this.
We can hear you
We
perfectly.
can hear
So
you.
just
Yes.
trust the system is working. Otherwise, we'll let you know.
We'll let you know. Yes.
Okay, that's good. So how they take these cases and how they
We're losing you now.
respond, because for that family also the wealth might not. Okay, the world may not know, but you, most especially the mother and those closest to her during the pregnancy period. Uh, okay, so those closest to her, mm, am I back?
Yes.
You know, okay, those closest to her, you're experiencing and that sometimes the trauma that comes with losing one of your babies. It could be the case of probably you have an advanced maternal age and you are really excited of the news of you having twin babies, and now this comes and this is on the table, and you do not even know that there is almost something like this, and it comes most of the times to come as a shock to you that you do not lose your pregnancy, but you lose one of your babies and the other is growing. And some mothers even get the case of rejection. Like over here, we have a lot of cases of postpartum depression, where after you have your baby, there's stress and trauma that comes with after having your baby. I think it gets worse with these cases. I don't know if anybody has a person. I think it gets worse with these cases of vanishing twins. I don't know if the host can tell me if I'm still on.
Thank you. You are still on. It's fine. We can hear you. You're breaking up a little bit, but we can still hear you. Thank you.
Okay, yes. So
Okay.
I think talking about mental health with respect to women after losing your babies, with respect to vanishing twins, it has to families that face vanishing twins, there has to be a lot more work, because first they did not even expect something like this is even on the table for them.
Hmm.
Something like this is not even on the table for them. you know Something like this is not even on the table for them, with case we have like superstition twins. Something like this is not on the table for them, and they are hearing this, and you still have to push through like nothing happened. You just lose one baby and you still have to continue with the other, even you're a surrogate or you are the mother. It comes with a lot on the table, which has to be dealt with. And I also want to talk about the cases, but I think it's most common with us here because of uh, poor and late access to antenatal care. Because we have to know that vanishing twins is most detectable in the early during early ultrasound, during your early scans. So for somebody who starts pregnancy, or cases like cryptic pregnancy, where you do not even realize you're pregnant, or you didn't even know you're pregnant, or you seek antenatal care late enough, you might not even pick up a case of a vanishing twin, because you might go in to the hospital. Yeah, you're going for the hospital where you're probably experiencing a loss, and you said you're experiencing a loss, you didn't even know that the second baby coming out, or you are having a cryptic pregnancy and you did not even know you were pregnant, and then you also had some form of miscarriages, you're going into the hospital when it's late enough, you would definitely not even realize there's a case of vanishing twin. But then with the families, I think it's much more a lot for families we knew they were expecting twin babies and then now had to lose one of their babies. So I think it's a lot for them on the table. And I really loved the fact that Christiana brought something up like this. And I had to just come in. I was really excited about this session. I want to say this is a great one.
Tell me your collapse.
Sorry, Esther. Christiana fell off at the wrong time, but
Yes,
she's
please.
back again. Saves me talking. I don't like to talk.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk to Christiana.
Thank you, Esther, for taking the time to join us and to be here. You are right indeed that these things, vanishing twins, is something that we don't talk about. Before, whilst you were dropping off and on, the one thing I said is to be pregnant is a miracle. To have pregnancy to full
Exactly.
term is an even bigger miracle. And then you're right
Exactly.
in what you said, that women who get pregnant sometimes are not even aware that they are carrying twins. And for those of you who want to stay to the end of their pregnancy, or they want to wait a bit longer before they tell people, they don't know what's happening in their systems. They might feel something sometimes and ignore it. So here is the thing. One thing I would say to you is do not ignore it. I mentioned earlier too that if at any point of your pregnancy you're either experiencing bleeding, pelvic pain, lower back pain, such as your your lumbar, so your L4s, L5s is hurting you, or you're struggling to have good mobility, and that continues or persists, you have got to see your healthcare practitioner. You must make sure that whilst you are pregnant, you're keeping you and your baby safe and well. Okay? Here's one thing I'm going to say about the effects on a surviving twin when it comes to vanishing twin, is that women experience, and have one or two of mine have experienced this, risk of preterm birth is one thing that we need to remember, that is a reality for women in this situation. Low birth weight is another one, and other adverse outcomes that nobody thinks about, because how do you know? If somebody who's experiencing twin pregnancy for the first time, have never been through it before, there isn't necessarily a manual. They may not have read a manual or even read anything about pregnancy. How are they to tell? How are they to know what's happening? Here is how you know. If at any point, and usually your body or your gut will tell you something isn't right. I remember when Dr. Noella spoke, audio events, the first time I actually did meet her, he spoke about she, as a healthcare practitioner, as a doctor herself, had to really listen to her gut instincts when she was pregnant carrying her child, and felt something wasn't right. And in that feeling, she made the choice, and also being a clinician herself, she made the choice to go and seek medical support immediately. She didn't wait. And thank God she did, because she was then treated. There was almost complications with her pregnancy. And that the the health of the baby was paramount in this case. And so she was able to ensure that her baby was safely delivered. So this is why I say to you, please don't ignore the signs. Don't ignore anything that you feel is out of the norm with the usual feeling that you have within your pregnancy, or within the term of pregnancy you're going through. Really get it checked, because you definitely will be saving a life or two. Okay, I take on board what Esther also mentioned in terms of women that live in rural. I think Michelle also touched on this too. Those that live in rural areas or less advantaged areas may not be able to have the resources, or even be indeed aware to go and get themselves checked, to even notice something is wrong. Or you might have, a culture whereby everything is like, you know what, we'll go whenever we there's that, forgive me, but there's a laissez-faire mentality that happens, sometimes, and we don't stop to say, okay, what is really going on? I'm thinking and feeling this. Let me go and get it checked. It's really important. If there's any medical practitioner or health practitioner around in your area, seek them, because you may not even be able to go into the city to be able to get treatment or medical attention. Go to your local one to begin with, and they will be in the right place to then either signpost you or refer you to another medical practitioner that will be able to help you in this case. So that's to say, I mean, I just want to say thank you again to Esther for being on board, for joining us, for really ensuring that we get to hear a different perspective, as we always love to do on this show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Here is, as I usually would talk about, with all of this happening, there is an emotional, a mental, a physical, and for a lot of people, a spiritual impact that happens whilst all of this is happening. We began by saying that, how do you cope with both? Because all along I've spoken about miscarriage and baby loss, and we speak about one, right? What happens when you have a living child and then a deceased fetus that has been absorbed either by you, the mother carrying both babies, or the living child absorbing? What does that do to the mental, the mental health of that parent or that couple? Indeed, what does it do to physical? So physically, there isn't a lot that happens apart from what I've mentioned, which is within still the remit of miscarriage. The bleeding, the cramping or the mild cramping, the back pain, the pelvic pain, the spotting that women experience during, pregnancy, and also experience as a result of miscarriage, right? So what happens in that situation? From a physical point of view, what is urgently and definitely required is rest. What the medical practitioner will advise you to do is ensure that you are resting and eating well. You heard me mention earlier, one of the risks of VTS, of vanishing twin syndrome, is low birth rate for the surviving baby or fetus. So ensuring that you actually eat well from a physical point of view, ensuring that you eat very well, and that you've taken on mild exercise. Even those who are previously were athletes are advised to take things rather gently, as opposed to continuing in your, be it weightlifting or whatever exercise you previously were used to doing. From a high impact perspective, reduce it. From a physical perspective, take the time to understand what your body's doing. Take the time to write down what you note or what you observe, whether you journal that, whether you do it by way of a voice note to yourself on your phone. These days with smartphones, we have so much that we can use. Hi, Rosemary. Welcome. Thank you for being here and also for sharing and reposting our event. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And so from a spiritual point of view, for some of you, meditation is something that you used before you became pregnant. For some, it's faith. For me, my faith is number one. And whatever means or whatever it is that you use to really satisfy and to fulfill your spiritual being, focus, hone in on that, and ensure that you practice that. From an emotional point of view, surround yourself with positive people that will uplift you, that will truly be there for you. Where you can, be vocal about how and what kind of support that you want. From a workplace perspective, speak to your managers, speak to your HR managers whoever it is that you're a trusted person that can support you to get through this trauma during a workplace. And as we discussed and touched on earlier, here in the UK, the laws relating to miscarriage and baby loss have changed. We can now take time off for exactly that. But as Annie mentioned earlier, what happens when your manager is confused about, well, you have a baby, why are you taking time off for loss? Please, managers, don't get confused. There is a loss and a survival, both in one. Think first of all of what that individual must be going through, must be experiencing, must be feeling, must be asking themselves or blaming themselves about before we think about, well, time off. In effect, it is not just maternity leave. And that's the complications that we find in a work environment is, are we going for maternity leave or are we going to have a bereavement? What are we doing? I understand, as Annie mentioned earlier, people can get confused, but let's not get confused about it. Let's have the conversation and say, yes, I have a living child, but I'm also mourning my deceased, child or baby. And so the appropriate time must be allocated for that individual. I'm now speaking to the employers out there that may get confused, right? Have a conversation with your workforce or member of your team. Have a conversation with them. What help and what support and what does that look like practically? Not just in theory with policies. How is it executed practically? How does it truly help to support that individual and sustain their employment with you? Because here is the thing, right? Over 30% of employees would say that the lack of support in the work environment is the reason why they consider going to another place when it comes to miscarriage and baby loss. So the stats do not lie. They tell us that as employers, we need to be doing more, right? In particular, for those who have a long-standing employment with you, who have been in there day in, day out, night after night, day after day, bringing in the product, being productive. When did they become unproductive? And how can they become unproductive now they're going through this trauma? I see this happen time and time again. Here is my reminder to you that we are first and foremost human beings. When we come into workspaces, we're not just there for getting paid. We're there because we have a vested interest. We formed relationships, especially those that are in a long period, form relationships. We come into work, we give of ourselves. We give of anything you ask of us for those that go above and beyond and exceed expectations. When it comes to them being supported or having that reciprocated, we find that, employers are short-handed. So let's think about that. Imagine what that human being or that person is going through before you start to pull out your policies. Talk to them, come to an agreement, and let them have that time off. Do not email them and say when you come back to work. I've seen and heard this before, and it blows my mind. It's like, where's your compassion? Right? Really important. And so you'd have to think about it. How do we support one another in this? Think about what your support network looks like. If it's something that doesn't work for you, find groups to become part of. Find a miscarriage and baby loss group that you can go to and see physically people. I know in the pandemic we couldn't do that. Nowadays we can return to face-to-face. Find that. In the absence of that not being the case, you can create one. Ways to do that is you can do that online and find people in your local area. You can join your local area, whether it's a newspaper, whether it is the clubs. Find people. But the one thing I'm going to say is, I know the shock, the fear, the shame, the guilt is what hits us first. before we begin to function. As you talk about what you've been through, as you tell your story, the shame, the guilt, the fear, and all of these things that we carry as badges starts to drop off. It will take time, but it drops off. And that's why it's really important that you share your story, that you talk to your loved ones, that you speak up when it comes to work environment. I'm going to yield my mic. Like I said before, please do help us in sharing this event and invite others to join us. And also, if you want to share your opinion, if you have anything to say on this subject, please come up on stage, as we're going to be finishing in a few minutes, about 15 minutes to go of this show. So here's opportunity. Before I move forward, I think I'm going to ask Coach David his thoughts so far, and if he has anything else to add before I move on. If you're still there, Coach David, please let me know. Thank you. Okay. No worries. So Michelle, who's joining us? Is Michelle? I'm going to go to Michelle, and then I'm going to come to Esther.
What do you think we can do to help this situation? Just to start helping. I'm not talking your whole plan.
Mm-hmm.
What's your idea of starting out to help women and to get out your message? Because it's very important. There's so much I've learned from you.
Mm. So what do I think would be helpful in helping other women?
Like we're having a lot of I call them spontaneous abortions.
It is, yes.
In America right now. I've been seeing different words for them everywhere, and I was like, that's still spontaneous abortion, isn't it? I don't understand. But anyways, we really do need to get something out there for women, because even when you have a spontaneous abortion, boy, those baby blues are like magnified. But no one understands that. And I'm nothing against you men. I'm just saying, I've seen men that who, when their wives do have spontaneous abortions, are just like, it's all right, we'll try again. And they're just like, are you kidding me? I don't want to try again. And they've actually said, would you try again? I don't know. Because you don't really honestly know what to say to them. So we need to, like you said, come up with groups and just realizing it's okay to lose a child, but we need to come together.
Yes. And I love the question. This is the reason why I always say, if you're not able to find what you're looking for, take the time to set it up. My journey began because I couldn't find what I was looking for. And I said, what better way could I then fulfill that for myself and for others? It's by starting what's missing. Is that missing link or that gap. Take it upon yourself to do so. And you will not know everything when you begin, but just start from somewhere. You know, nowadays, you have people like me who can come and talk and work with clients and so on and so forth. And in terms of the names, the names when it comes to VTS, you've got twin resorption, we have disappearing twin syndrome, we have fetus papyraceus, you know, we have all kinds of names that people use to explain this. Disappearing twins is another one. And so no matter what the name is, it is still the same action that's happening in the body, right?
Yeah.
The same action is happening in the body. How we help others is by bringing awareness, is by continuously talking about this, is by setting up, whether it's webinars from a virtual point of view, by this event, for example, or by taking it into employers, into local communities that hold different events, and saying, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? Can we bring a big screen for somebody like Christiana T. Johnson can come and talk about this via virtual while others listen and ask questions and chime in. So by creating and putting events that allows people to be able to ask
Hi, Annie. I can't hear you.
My
so,
bad, my bad. Go,
There we go.
Christiana.
so yeah, it's by having I'm asking, for example, finding a local area or a hall somewhere or something, or even using a school space in saying we have this person, can they come and have a conversation? In fact, I'll tell you a true story. My son and I do swimming, 1 day a week. I was at the swimming, we were having I was just watching him swim, and I had somebody who approached me, oh, hello, how are you doing? We're just having this conversation. And I say this to demonstrate the importance of talking, right? If you're in the UK, there's a company that says talk. I think it's talk. Any, just remind me if I'm wrong. It's called it's either BT or talk. And the saying is good to talk. That is their tagline or slogan. It's good to talk. And it's good to talk because as I was speaking, and she said, "Oh, I've seen you here a lot. You always have time and so on." I said, what do you do?" So I was explaining what I did, and she said, "Oh my goodness, like we haven't got something like this in here as staff. We haven't got a clue." And she says, "I'm going to speak to the manager and see if we can get you in to come and talk about this that you do." In fact, as we were on the show, I've received a message from her saying, "Can we talk?" So I will be getting in contact with her on the show. But this is what I mean by speaking up, by sharing our stories, by having conversations, we can begin to create and spread awareness of these types of situations, these traumas that people experience and people don't have a clue about, or you mention in public, people are like, what does that mean? I jokingly at the beginning of this show said, when I think I heard somebody during my audio events who said, "Oh, did they eat the other twin?" And I had to say, no. We will save that conversation for another day. So we have to really foster and really encourage education and encourage people to come and forward and tell their stories. By telling our stories, we inspire others to tell their stories and to go out in their community and do that. And part of the work I'm doing, and this is going forward in the future, I do want to train up others who can go out in the community and do this and be able to have the confidence to say, right, I have this knowledge. How can I help you? Because I can't be everywhere at the same time all of the time. So I want to kind of like create mini-me's across the globe.
We're gonna clone you, Christian. We're not gonna clone you, right?
Yes, science and technology, they call it.
Christiana. What a terrible word that would be. Imagine having 10 Christianas running around, honestly. I'm scared.
Listen. There's one of me. With what I do, is not enough. We need more.
That's enough. That's enough. Let's talk to Esther. And I see Coach is back awake and alive with us, so hopefully he will share. He will have his last word. Esther, please, what do you want to leave us with today?
Your last word, Esther.
Not your last word ever.
No, not ever. So give us your final thoughts in a minute flat. What message should we take away from, or are you going to take away from today's? Please unmute yourself because you're muted.
Thank you very much. What will be my takeaway? I won't say a word because a lot has been said. Most especially when you're talking about the effects, and you were trying to say about your last session on your LinkedIn audio event when they're talking about the reabsorption and so. Yes, that is always been said. I think what I would say takeaway is you should seek for care, as you said. Starting if you're in a local community, you mustn't wait till you go to a very big urban hospital. You start with your local community health workers that have there. You seek care, you seek not just care, but then have somebody talk to you and give you directives on what next, what you should look out for, what you should go for, and how you should go about everything. And it does not just leave you very satisfied and know, hey, what I'm going through, somebody know exactly what to say to me and how I should go about it. It also keeps you very reassured that everything is going to go out smoothly.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Esther. We appreciate you and thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I'm going to find out if Coach David is going to join us. Is he around? Can he give us a minute of his final word for today? And if he isn't, that's okay. We're going to go across to Michelle. I do want the audience that are still here, and thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate you. We love you as always. Can you take the time, please, to let us know your thoughts and at least one takeaway that you have gleaned or taken from today's event? I'll be looking at the comments later on to really get to know and understand and appreciate people. So one thing that you have taken away from this event today, or what you're going to be taking away from this event today, if we are still here.
Are you talking to me?
So no, the audience,
Oh.
the audience, please type in. I'll come to you, Michelle, I promise. The audience, please type in and tell us one thing that you've taken away. If you're still here, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. We love you. We know that you are a community that is our, oh, hi, Sandra, welcome. We know that your community that really is for us and truly appreciate what we bring. So please put in the comment section your takeaway for today. I will truly appreciate it and I will definitely be responding after this. So let me come to, and of course, indeed, if you want to come and give us your last, your word or your takeaway in studio, live on stage, you're more than welcome. Join us. We appreciate you however you do it. Comments, face to face, virtually. Awesome. Thank you so much. Michelle, over to you. Your takeaway.
I see just from listening to you for like the last month, there's a huge gap between work and mothers and definitely women clinics. And we
Mhm.
have the technology, we have the know-how. So we need to bring this all together. We
Yes.
honestly should have no reason people are dying. We honestly, the baby blues, come on, folks, come on, doctors, let's really work with this because suicide sucks for people out there because the children and the rest of the family have to deal with that. So what I'm getting from you is we definitely need more women clinics. I know we do here rurally. And again, we are working on that. Actually, my doctor that I've been going to uh, through the military, he just retired and that's what he's working toward is a woman's clinic. But right now he just has a family clinic, which is beautiful upon itself.
Mhm.
But I do see that we need more care for women, so maybe women will get off drugs instead of getting on drugs because they don't know what to do.
Mhm.
Um, I have taken away so much from you. And I've learned that about surrogacy because I was really confused about that.
Mm.
It's like, I mean, I really was. And nowadays, everybody's having babies. I mean, I
Mhm.
just, yesterday on the news, I was just like, yeah, you go, mama. And she'd never had a kid. And finally, because of science, maybe she's 52 years old, someone got to carry a child for her. And her
Mm.
and that husband, and it actually made me cry.
Oh wow.
Because it was just so, they're 52 years old. I think they went through 12 miscarriages. It was right here in Nevada, or maybe it was
Mm.
in California. I don't know. It's real close to me. But anyways, I got to watch the interview on it, and I believe they'd been married for 15 years.
It gives
Okay.
people hope.
15 years trying to have a kid. Finally, at 52, they had one. And everyone is giving them guff about it. Oh, you're too old, this or and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're just breaking down people's dreams that have been trying for 15 years, you know. And one took. It was just they had extra money. It was a fluke. They decided to go in and try it, and I can't even imagine all the money they spent. And it took. And when they showed up with the new baby, both of their families are devastated that they were that old and had their first child finally. And to me, that's beautiful that they should, both families should be around them and being like, oh, we got a grandchild. But that wasn't the way it was working. And
No.
and that was just sad to me because I started crying. I was just like, oh my gosh, look, she's crying because she's happy. But her mom and her mother-in-law are pissed. You know, and it's just like, that doesn't make sense to me. Everyone should be happy their own way.
Do you remember the story that we had last month? 29 attempts, number 30 happened. Listen, nobody can tell you what you need to do with your life. You know, for some people, having a child is the icing on the cake. It is the last thing. It is something that for them they want to pass on something to that child, whether it be love, knowledge. Nobody knows the reasons why people do what they do, but a child should not be a terrible thing to come into the world. It really shouldn't. You know, and who am I to say and who am I to judge what age you want to bring a child into the world, right? Because no one knows tomorrow, and you do not know what that child is going to become tomorrow. So who are we to judge, right?
Have a look at Teresa's comment. I think Teresa is saying exactly what I've been trying to say very badly, Teresa. But you get it.
Okay, let me put this on if I can see this. Disappearing twins and trauma, it can cause problems, especially. Yes.
Right. So that's a dilemma I think people have. That they along the journey of pregnancy or childbirth, there are so many losses. I mean, you called it a miracle, Christiana, where one of anything strikes one of the other thing, and then now you have a pregnancy, right? Now you have a baby.
Yes.
Many millions, gazillions. In Teresa's case, 3 embryos they make.
Yes.
We don't tend to pay attention to any of those. We just focus on the one that lives.
Yes,
I know what you're saying. I'm saying, but we'll have this thing about focusing on the one that lives and nothing else matters almost. As she's saying, was it normal that she didn't grieve so much for the more for the other 3 eggs or 3 embryos that they make it?
So when you say the word normal, for me personally, that word normal can be used in so many different contexts. What is normal for you may not be normal for somebody else. I always say it depends. So we take each case on the merit of that individual, right? For some, my question would be, is that an only child? Was that your first attempt at being a mum?
First attempt, she says. First attempt. That's why she's quite happy.
Attempt of being a mum. Okay, so she's quite happy because at least she has a child to come through. She has a child that she's giving birth to and she's happy with. That's her own story, and I appreciate her saying that. For some, that is not the case. I don't know her journey. I don't know how long he took you, Teresa, to get to the point of becoming pregnant, whether it took a year, 2 years, 7 years, 15 years. You cannot tell people how to feel, how to really appreciate, or indeed how to remember, or how to walk their journeys, with what I'm trying to say, how they walk their journeys entirely different to how somebody else might choose to. For some parents, the loss of, a fetus in a multiple pregnancy really is a huge deal. Yes, don't get me wrong. That does not take away from the fact that they rejoice, they celebrate, they do naming ceremony for the child that survived. But they're going to remember that child, especially when the child is growing up and they begin to think about what would have been, or they think about this child has survived now, they're doing X, Y, and Z. And also, when the child that survives gets to learn about their missing twin, it's another complete different show altogether. When they get to, come to hear, and I can also mention this because I know that Paulette have mentioned this about, her son previously, and having to explain to him that there would have been twins, and this is what happened, and so on and so forth. That's the reality. So each parent goes through this in their own way. What's normal for you may not be normal. I'm back, what David said, might not be normal for the next woman, the next person. It's a bit like saying one man's meat is another man's poison, So that's the reality. But I am going to, let me see what we are now. Time on. My child is picking up. We're 5 past. So let's cut
Coach
this.
David, have your last words today, please.
Coach David, sorry. One minute for your last word, because we got to check out of here.
I'm so sorry. My laptop hanged and I didn't want to restart because I had a lot of things on. so I was trying to speak and you couldn't hear me and it was not unmuted. Yeah, I mean, so much knowledge on the table. Michelle, good to see you. Thank you so much. Christiana, solid material. Thank you again. We have to take up for this.
That's new. I've not been called solid material before, but I'll take that.
Yes. Solid material that's needed.
You're not the material. It's the content you've told us about
the
today.
Content, what I mean.
Oh my goodness.
Don't want you running around saying Coach David called me something funny. So like Coach David.
I love it. So what's the issue? No issue here.
Thanks for that, Christina. Thank you. And also the lady Esther, the nurse, she did a very fantastic job. Special appreciation to her. She spoke to the science of it and the psycho-emotional issues there. And I think I listened to her conversation, very insightful. Here's my last point. There would be range of emotions. There will be mixed feelings. And it's a possible outcome in life. And I think the antenatal meetings should also prepare people for such eventualities as these. I mean, we're not open for negative news, but FYI, these conditions exist. It's a possibility. We will do everything to ensure that it doesn't happen. But what if it happens? Be ready. I mean, don't not tell people. So I think your work, Christiana, in the antenatal community needs to be louder. The guys who are pregnant or the people who are about to get pregnant, and I think it's also will begin to hold antenatal meetings for the pregnancy community, meaning father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, just like we do for the children. We need to extend a lot of this wisdom to the communities around. If you see a pregnant woman on the bus, if you've been to any of your meetings, Christiana, if you've been to, Victoria is the name of Victor. If you see a pregnant woman on a bus and you've been to any of Christiana's meetings, your perspective, I bet you'll be more empathic. It will be easier for you to stand up and let her sit. You will understand why you should stand up in a crowded train. You'll understand why you should not crowd a pregnant woman on a train. In the evening in central London, all of you are coming. The people around should ring fence her and give her some space. I don't know how to stretch my hand like that and tell people back off when I see a pregnant woman, because I have O&G doctors close to me, and I know about pregnancy a little bit. So we should be empathic more towards people when they're in the expectancy mode, because a lot of things are going on in the womb, and in that season, there's a lot that needs to be done. So I think my last comment is the antenatal community, the communities around pregnant people. We need to begin to carry this message to them, not just to women alone or those who it has happened to. Is there something we can begin to do pre? I mean, in Africa, it's so superstitious. You hear things in Africa like don't go out in the hot afternoon if you're pregnant. When the sun is out, there's some spirits are out there, and they might, And I asked my late mom, and then she told me, say, yeah, some of those things are real, but that's medical. That many of those are medical, not even spiritual. It's just that medically, maybe if you go under the sun, something can affect you. Be careful what you eat. Be careful what you do, because conditions like this exist. So thank you so much. These are my thoughts. Appreciate you guys, Michael, Michelle, Christina, Annie, the godfather of LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, hi Michael. Thank you for your comment. Love it. Thank you so much, Coach David. And in terms of the sun thing, the sun is too much sun. Obviously, going out in the sun, depending on your pregnancy, how heavy you are, what trimester you were in, you could experience heat stroke. And for a pregnant person, that is not a good place to be. Hence the reason why they advise you try not to go into the heat when you're pregnant, because
if you hear Africans talk about this, so I cut into you. If you hear Africans talk about this thing, this is scientific explanation. If you hear the story in Africa, you would laugh. This is their spirits that are released in the heat.
I'm an African too,
trust me.
The reason why I'm having to address it is because I hear so many things. You must understand, I'm Nigerian born and bred. Even though I sound like this today, I was raised in Nigeria myself. I was raised around Nigeria. I'm still around Nigerians. I'm still around our people. So I understand where you're coming from. There's so many myths. There's so many misconceptions and myths that is in our community, and we link culture to it. And the reality is, I will break it down to lack of actual knowledge. That's why it's important to get real factual knowledge, real studies that show or prove that's even still ongoing, to be able to say factually, this is the reason why this happens. We mentioned earlier about people saying when you have a vanishing twin situation or scenario is, oh my God, you're bewitched and all of these things. The reality is something as simple as, okay, it's not simple, but a simple explanation as abnormalities in your chromosomes means that you're going to have a vanishing twin, or you're going to experience miscarriage, full stop. Really important for us to be able to begin this process of educating ourselves and understanding what happens, when it happens, why it happens, as opposed to saying all the suspicions that I have had my ear landed into. I can say my own personal experience. I was told, do not air your dirty linen outside because it's a dirty linen. Not to tell your story. The reality is no, or people are going to be, cursing you, or you're going to be cursed because now I've told people what's happening to me. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous when you think about it. That's the reason.
Do they still live by that? I apologize, Annie, but I'm very excited here. I just heard an adventure going on. No, I don't mean to be rude, but that's how it. I don't even know how to phrase this. So, man. So in Africa, since there is so many myths, they still go by it, because I know. All right, there was a myth. I was told never to have kids because I was retarded. And I was just like, oh, we'll just throw that out the door.
Yes.
Whatever.
So we have different countries as well that go through. So when I first began this journey, I was mainly based and focused in Malaysia. And I heard so many misconceptions and myths about this same topic, and the reality is, in different parts of the world, in different communities, there are different types of myths that happen, misconceptions that we hear. So, superstitions that I have heard countless times. It isn't just related to Africa alone, but I'm saying that people that think that way, The simple thing is, let's educate ourselves before we begin to bring in superstition into this remit, into such a trauma. Firstly, that person is so traumatized. They are mentally in a negative headspace, let alone being given superstition that leaves them bound in a negative space. I'm just going to pause for a moment and say, Bolanle, hello, welcome. Good evening for you. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. So nice to see you. Thank you for supporting our rooms. So that being said, I think it's really important that when we come up with things like that, pause and say to yourself, does that sound logically? Like logically, does it make sense? When I was
Yeah.
told, do not spread your dirty linen outside, my question was, who in their right mind would take out the dirty clothes that they've worn and put it on their line outside? Does that really make sense to anybody? That was my question, in return. I know,
There's a figure of speech, of course. I know you've been facetious.
I know it
No,
is.
look, no, let me say this, if I can, Christiana. I've never heard of this, and like the VTS, and I can only imagine people don't talk about it at all. They don't.
No.
They never mention it. The world never knows.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's all part of our be happy with the one you have, or be happy with what you have. Essentially, I can see that's probably where it comes from.
And that's
But
dangerous.
yeah, so now we need to, as your message always is, we need to talk about how what's our experiences and our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
If you're traumatized, then talk about it and let other people know and support you.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Let's
I mean,
not internalize it.
I was so confused about having youth, and even when we had sex education in high school, I was told you couldn't get pregnant in the shower. What do you know? We have a kid. So, I mean, there is a lot of stuff out there that don't laugh, any. Shut up.
Cristiano,
Terrible.
let's not have a room on that, shall we? Let's leave that alone.
But I
Anyway,
mean,
you have to go. Your son's waiting for
I-
you.
yeah,
Yes, I do have to go, but I do want to
Definitely.
leave my usual, closure is this, and my disclaimer is, remember that I'm not a clinician. Before you come and start suing me, I'm not a clinician or a therapist. I'm somebody who they term as lived experience. And it's really important that when you find yourself in a situation, be it the actual signs and symptoms of miscarriage, full stop, before it becomes vanishing twin syndrome, make sure you get help. You have a team, at least one clinician or healthcare practitioner that you can get in contact with. In the UK, your GP is a good one to start with, right? Or if you're experiencing that bleeding in that point, if you're experiencing bleeding, excessive pain, that kind of pain, back pain and pelvic pain that sees you on the floor, not able to get up, pick up the phone and call the ambulance. Do not wait for an appointment, because that in itself is severe. There's something horribly wrong happening potentially. When it comes to the mental side of things and the physical side of things, try and get a talking therapy that can support you to talk through your emotions, to talk through what you're thinking and feeling. I'm going to add this, preferably a talking therapist that understands what you are going through. On 2.5 of my session, I abandoned my counseling session because it left me feeling doomed. It left me feeling like this person didn't understand me. I was sat in a room and constantly was in silence, being asked, "How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel?" It became a repetitive. I don't even know the words to use without sounding rude or indignant. So ensure that if that doesn't work for you, find another person. Okay. and keep going until you find someone that can truly understand, help you, support you, uplift you, whether be it your friends, a loved one, or even your colleagues sometimes that you have a good relationship with, can support you through that. Be it you as a single woman or a couple. So I work with women who are married, but sometimes they don't bring their partners or their husbands to the table. And then I have to ask the question, who is behind you helping you, before I come to realize actually they do have a living live partner, and I have to encourage them to bring them along. So for those that are coupled, do this together. I talked about, couples in the last session that we had, how important it is for you both to support each other. So seek that help. Take the time out. Look at your diet. Look at what you're eating. Look at nourishing the body, the mind, and the soul. Reading is really good. Music is also another one. Journaling is another one that you can use. There's so many ways and so many things. And I work with my clients to really find what works for them. It's almost like back in the day, before we had DAB, we used to have to tune the radio to find the station we want, right? Now we have digital radio. You can get it straight away. But to tune the radio, tune what works for you as an individual, because one person may work, another person, the same method may not work for them. So that's really important, really key. Spirituality, do what it is that you do for yourself to fulfill and satisfy your spirituality and your spiritual being. We are all spiritual beings. We find our ways and ways and just however it is or whatever it is that we, practice to give us that fulfillment. Do that. And if you haven't found one, maybe start looking into one and see what works for you. That's my advice. When it comes to VTS, it is a real thing. It has a huge impact on us and those around us. When it comes to the surviving twin versus the absorbed fetus, nobody can tell you how to experience that. You do what feels right for you. Try and find a medium, a balance. And that can be quite difficult to achieve because of the fear, the shock, the guilt that we feel, that we carry. It's really important. So I leave you with this. Remember, as always, we are all human. Be compassionate, be caring, be empathetic, be loving. When you come across somebody or encounter somebody that's been through this trauma, let them lead and tell you how you can help them on their journey. I want to thank you again for being such amazing, amazing humans, for always supporting, being here, and showing up. I really feel blessed having you guys here. Thank you so much, Annie, our superstar. Thank you, Coach David, for being here. Thank you, Michelle, for your time and for being here. Is it Aroma Seller? Thank you so much for being here. I hope I haven't butchered your name. Feel free to come on and tell me how to pronounce your name. But thank you so much for being here. From Lisa, I'm just going to go through. From Lisa to Christine. Christine, thank you for being here. Michael Rivers, Michael B, Bolanle, Lisa, for being here. Our beautiful menopause coach. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you. And who am I missing? Andre, thank you for being here. I will be at your next event, and I'll be in touch too. Who have I missed out? I haven't missed out on anyone.
There's always people you miss out. When you try and do the. That's a Bolanle, Michael, Rita, Rosemary.
Rosemary, yes.
Lisa, Sandra. Thank you so much, all of you.
Caroline, Sandra, yes.
Fiona, we'll see you as well. I think we mentioned you.
I did mention him earlier when we
Did you?
first started. Yes, I did. Abiola,
then
thank you
you
so much again.
Linda as well. And I said Luz. So thank you so much, everyone. Michael. Thank you, everyone, spending your time with us. So Henry as well. We're back here again in 2 weeks'
2 weeks' time.
To you, Cyrus. Yeah.
And yes, thank you, Cyrus. Michael B and Michael R.
The thing is to go in the comments and respond to people's comments. That's for all of us, and connect with people who resonate with you. You know, make friends. Don't just connect, and then have conversations.
Meet with them. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I meet with them. You know, you never know who you can support or who can support you. If you don't meet them, you really will never know. My friends, I don't want Christiana to be losing the early kids she's got, so let's end the show. Thank you, everyone that's on stage as well. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
I appreciate you.
So, bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye, Michelle.
She's success with Global.Media.com and celebrate it with or without champagne or rum. She's success with Global.Media.com.